Gaurav. First of all, I've been listening here since past 2 days to a lot of eminent speakers. A lot has been said on the environment and engineering. I would be sharing something from a different point of view, especially on the environmental conservation point of view, and all what is my observation and how we can contribute in conservation in that perspective. So the first question I'm trying to answer is, can we save our world by what we are doing is something environment conservation, and what as an engineer we are basically missing in general. Some of us will be doing next day. So I would say people say environment is in danger. I would ask, is it really in danger? Or let me say in other way, let pollution happen. Because we have to go to the history of something. The word conservation basically comes from a word called conservare. So basically it means to preserve and to treasure. But we are forgetting the essence of the word. It's a Latin word. It also means to hold. So all the initiatives that we are doing, we are forgetting the essence of this word to hold. And when we translate it to hold, it throws us light to some of the very important aspect that is happening. That let me put it, the world is at a juncture where it is facing complete upheaval in both social and engineering terms. Life is both disappearing and evolving at the same time. Next please. So this is a, I don't know if you have heard about it. This is a Bramble K. Menominee, and he was a very, he or she, so he was a very special creature. So it has got a distinction thanks to all of us. Due to anthropogenic effects of global warming and climate change, it is the first mammal to be extinct in the world 2 years back. And the beauty is a complete committee consisting of United Nations experts was constituted to design how to conserve it, but all of them were not able to conserve it because its habitat was an island in Australia and it got submerged. The problem here is two. One, we don't know about it, that's the first problem. The second problem is that the rules, that the acts, that the laws under which the committees were functioning, when they were made, that were not meant to conserve this creature. They were created 10 years, 20 years back when there was no problem of what it is happening. So next please. It also comes from our the way we think. I have a daughter, and I'm sure all of you will be having the children. The first problem I have the word wood. Everywhere there is Little Red Riding Hood went to the forest. Wood? It's a nonsense. What is a wood? Forest is not wood. Forest is a complete lifestyle ecosystem into it. I will come on how engineering is associated with it. We call resource. That's the second problem we have. Resource for whom? Resource for someone to exploit, someone to utilize. Maybe it is a human resource, maybe it is a mineral resource. That is the cause of the problem. So we are, like I said, we are dealing with solutions, but our strategies is something that we have formed way back in 1950s, 1960s, 1970s. So next. Mike, hello. Yeah. So let me reiterate. So this is humans are using their technology and engineering skills to shape the world in the way we need. But the last line is very important. Maybe we don't know what does it. This is what we aspire for, and that is the cause. So somewhere before in the meeting, some gentleman was presenting, asked, is democracy a problem? I would say, no, democracy per se is not a problem. But problem is the way the democracy is functioning, that's a problem. Because it's not an informed decision the people take. It's a decision put through a process from thought leaders or influencers that influences the decision of the masses. That's the problem with the public hearing that's going with EIA. Next please. So let me come to the engineering point of view. I'm taking one of the examples because I am also transport planner, qualified transport planner. So apart from engineering, so this is a national highway project funded by World Bank, of course. and funded by World Bank, of course, and lots of highways are being constructed. So this is the highway, and the EIA does not foresee. The EIA had foreseen around 34,000 trees to be cut. Till date, more than 1 lakh trees have already fallen. The project cost was estimated to be around 4,000 crores. The project cost has reached 17,000 crores. So, and you can see the highway has washed out. The highway is wherever it is, but you can see at least 100 meters before the complete valley has washed out. And one very interesting point of view I would like to share, that is the engineering mistake we are all making. No one needs to be a civil engineer. This is the supporting wall that is being made, and the cutting is being done that way. It's a 10 feet wall and you are cutting up to 200 feet. So that's the problem in the planning is because the people who are designing such projects, they are not understanding, and people who are financing these projects, they are not involving the relevant environmental engineers at the right point. And by the time EIA comes into picture, the project is all approved, there is funding in place, there is regulatory approvals in place, public has already been conditioned in a way, and then EIA comes and the first mandate is the project has to be cleared. Let's work out on the mitigation measures. That's the problem with the chapter on mitigation measures that works in there. So next week, and one more thing before I end up. Earlier, this is a simple example. Shimla to Chandigarh, I come from Shimla. The cost was 0 to travel. Now it is 200 rupees per car per side. Just imagine the cost of the complete infrastructure, the trucks and the public transport. It's huge. Next, please. Yeah, this is a very thinking problem on the Shimla water supply. The very interesting thing, and this is an engineering disaster all the engineers have made. So this is the Shimla city. This is Chandigarh city here between, and this is the highway we connect. Around 100 years back, the supply to the water supply to the city used to come from within 10 kilometers. Then way back 50 years, it went somewhere around 25-30 kilometers. Now it's around, at present, it's around 100 kilometers. And the best part, now we are planning to give supply to the city from 250 kilometers away. And then what? There's no water. Because you don't have water after 250 kilometers. Now this is dried, this is dried, this is dried, this is functioning at 50% capacity. Now we are working that. That's the coal dam project on the Satluj River, which has been funded again by the World Bank, and they are funding the city. So that's the problem, but I will tell you why it's the problem in the next slide. Please, next. So this is the problem we have done in essentially the thing is. So if anyone has come to Shimla city, please be my guest at any point of time. In fact, Sir had come. I took him on the ridge. Ridge is a central location, and you drop a mug of water on the right side. If you are standing here, it will go to the river here. It will go to basically the Arabian Sea, and you drop one glass of water, it will go to the Bay of Bengal. That's the geography of that. But the problem that we have done is, now this is the development that has happened. So we have choked the natural flow systems of the water, and then the water is not flowing naturally, it's flowing under the ground. It is also disturbing the engineering designs on the highways that's being done, because no one is doing the hydraulic modeling. And why people are not doing the hydraulic modeling? Because we are not consulted. Civil engineers are designing with the clear funding, get the road designed 20 feet by 20 feet, 2 into driven, done, that's it. So this is the problem. We are designing the complete thing. I was a consultant for this project for the government. This entire road got collapsed, and they had built the entire structure 2 times. I said, you don't need to build. You just need to give it drainage to the water, natural drainage, and let it go. Now it's functioning properly. Next, please. Similar. So this is the problem with development. What we are talking about. So this is the same location. This is the same location. Somewhere down the line, I will not go to the politics or the social thing that's happened. Somewhere down the line, someone had proposed a ropeway system to be constructed from this location to the topmost point of the city. Even I was reading, ropeway is being planned in Tamil Nadu also. So ropeway from this point is the Jakru temple, and it's completely concretized. The result is the entire natural plants, trees have dried out downstream. So this is this location, and downstream it's completely dried out. Because again we have, dried. Next please. So dried the entire context on what we are doing. So in this context, environment is no more an isolated term, but a core interdisciplinary subject at the heart of every activity undertaken on this earth and beyond. environmental engineering endeavours and trends are shifting from pollution control to conservation. This is something I would really like to stress on why it should shift, where it is not shifting, what are the policy regulations need to take, and this needed shift in the narrative is critically needed. Irony is, even conservation won't allow to save it, which I will answer in the end. Please, next please. So, this is what is the difference. So, these two projects are the similarity. Here, you have not constrained the natural flow of environment, water in the, designing of the staircase. In this staircase, you are conserving the flow, so ecosystem is maintained. At the same time, the mobility to the people is being ensured. You don't need an EIA for such a small project. It is how you do the relevant interventions at the correct point. Next, please. Similar to that, we can skip that. So basically, it's about small mistakes, but the consequences are big. Next, please. So this is the first thing one of the things I would answer is about the interdisciplinary approach. The problem is, I will talk about, I'm just giving you an example, it's not a complete presentation, it's just a small topic. So basically I will be talking about water a little, in one slide only, that's it. So the problem is, the pollution control board is, pollution control board is only, pollution control board is only basically dealing with point source pollution. My problem is, I had a presentation with all the topmost in the Himachal government, even other people, and like the point source pollution is not even 5%. The main problem is the non-point source pollution, but there is no solution to that. You give that, kuda kaun collect karega, the municipality will collect. They come under solid waste management rules. Now I will tell you what's the problem. Now they are going to door-to-door collection. Again, door-to-door collection is the household thing, and the purpose is also not door-to-door collection. Purpose is to increase the revenue of the ULP concern, revenue generation. What about you are taking your dog to the poo and he's shitting on the road? No one is taking care. There is a regulation in all the hills areas. You have to put sewage treatment plant in hotel industries if the number of rooms in the hotel is more than 12, more than 24. So problem is, if you are 25, you have STP. If you are 24, you don't have an STP. This is just stupid. So that is either you don't have it up to a limit or you have it up to a limit. 24 is just making no sense. So this is one part. The second part is the idea I showed this thing is interdisciplinary approach. So it's water doesn't have the point source. It's about flow control, retention, and treatment. Bangalore is doing quite good in this at the policy level also, but what Delhi has done a mistake in that. So they don't have a flow control mechanism. I am a consultant to Delhi Jal Board also. So they don't have a flow control mechanism. They have, due to the NGT, National Green Tribunal guidance, they said rainwater harvesting is compulsory. They just do infiltration. Problem is, one person infiltration is other person's water leakage problem, because water is seeping inside and then it is coming out as dampness at different corners of the building. So it's the same officials are going to enforce this. Same officials are going to enforce the land rules. Whether you have encroached on other person's property or not. So, but the problem is coming because we are not seeing it in the continuity of the things. Solution next week. And this thing, something is called low impact development. So I'm actually trying to help governments, trying to convince them involve low impact development in their policy matters. It is already a part of United States, France, and lots of other governments, regulatory point of view. Next, please. So this is my very important point. The narrative has to basically shift from water pollution to conservation. So I mentioned Water Act. It can also be Air Act. It can also be Hazardous Act. It can be all other acts also. The shifting has to be. But point is, if you create a void, so if not Water Act, then what? So what I'm trying to say, we should go for low impact development, like someone just said. We have to restore our land or our development in a way when this development was not there. Mimic it. Biomimicry to the maximum level is required. Next, please. So it's time to be interdisciplinary. In fact, it's time to live interdisciplinary in terms of learning, adapting, evolving, and most importantly, observing. And I think as an engineers, there are a lot of teachers in this group, and I am fortunate. I have studied from BITS and IIT. So one of the things that have been taught to us, which I am very fortunate, is we were told to observe. And right now, most of the colleges don't teach their students to observe. They have their textbook things. Let's not go into the technology point of view. Let's go in general. We have to tell people to observe on how to solve a thing. We are just giving everything. Since we have lost the power of the observation, we have lost the power of innovation. That's a problem. Second thing, once we observe, we start to understand everything is a flow of energies. Energy not in terms of energy, electricity. Water is an energy. It has an energy in itself. Water, air, sunlight. Flow. How the entire flow? Because we are not observing things, critical observing. So that's when you link to the sustainable development goals. That's when you have a talk on circular economy, and I will be talking about it next week. So this is a very short example. So this is a tree, Devda tree, and this plant is a creeper. Luckily, it was introduced by the forest department and Britishers bred it as an ornamental plant. Today, it can kill a complete 500 years old tree in 1 year. And it is it's a green creeper. They are vines basically. They're American vines. So, but it is having an effect on land usage and other next page. Next. So observation is the next. So this is the time because in the end it's not about environment. It's about human creatures. That's what I am trying to say. Why environment conservation would not solve a problem, because we are not finding ourselves connected and our viability is not connected. Next please. So what I propose is basically alternative futures. So how we can have an alternative future is by observing the network, what I call network of life. So next please. So I would, lot of my career has gone into projects. So luckily I have been fortunate enough in such a young age to be in 5 PPP projects from gestation, including a technical expert to the High Court and NGT standing. So having experience of 5 PPP projects is a very big thing, coincidentally. So I will talk about risk management, because risk is something which we are not doing properly in any of the report. Next please. So I will just give a success story. One of the success story in my opinion is Vadodara Halol Toll project. So they did the risk management very properly, both the social risk and the environment risk. And the benefit of this, they had an innovative financing model, and it gave a good, return to the developer, and there was surrounding area developments also happening because the risk was properly managed. Next, please. And at the same time, I will give you Amritsar ISBT was also not a very successful project because the surrounding environment, built and natural environment, was not taken care of. Next. Even Shimla if I talk about Shimla waste to energy plant has failed. Shimla parking projects have failed in projects. Lots have failed because risk management has not come into play. I'm just skipping the technicalities. Next, please. So I will just throw light on something on a new point of view. Next. So point is, this is the next bit. So point is, this is how we design any project, in infrastructure project at a government level, at a consultancy level. Next, please. Stop. So so there is an identification, design, build, and opening project. Right? So it's not happening the way it is. It's just happening. We need this project, and all this goes into cut. But this all needs to go in a step-by-step way, and we need to do risk management. Next. So since there are different kinds of projects happening, from a smallest toll gate project to setting up a toilet to large project, the process is the same, right? From this design and build to complete privatization. So next. So this is how we have to take care about that. Currently, the taking care is only happening with respect to the financial viability, but we are actually saying incorporate environmental perspective in the risk management, have it as a critical component in having the yes or no for the project, then only EIA will be successful. And until then, it won't be the way it should be. Next. Maybe we can skip next. So next. Yeah, please, next. See next. Next. Yeah, this is one thing. So again, next. Yeah. So basically, this assessment has to be any project has basically not exactly a development project per se. It has different perspective. We are living in a capitalist economy, and we have to understand, irrespective of why environment conservation is a fab there, because there are a set of companies in US or in European countries or anywhere else who are funding this global warming narrative completely. But But point is, it's not about that, it's about life per se. If people are not getting water, that's a problem. If people are facing floods, that's a problem. So the idea in the project is we have to understand whether it is a development driven business case, operations driven business case, and the fair cost driven business case. And the test for this will come from risk assessment. And one of the risks for risk assessment, including site risk and operating risks, will come when the engineers will be actually part of the decision making of the planning process and how it will be coming through. Next slide. So environment, so basically infrastructure project financing is a very important thing which needs to be seen. And disaster risk information and environment risk information has to come into that. It's a changing trend, but it's a policy decision which is already happening. Next, please. So second, I basically suggest it's also innovative topic, part of risk, that was risk planning with respect to the we as an engineer, as a policy maker. This is including disaster, because disaster is the consequences of the wrong environmental engineering, maybe at the small thing or the large thing. So next please. So disaster risk, next. So yeah, so disaster risk, previous please. Back. So disaster risk reduction, which actually give us living with certainty. So it means what is the probability of having any disaster, maybe a short, and incorporating in the project cost of that. So that will help to give the sustainability of this. For that, risk management and quantifying the risk is very important. Next please. Next. So third, I basically talk about need for systems thinking. I'm not elaborated, I will just talk about it. So we should not see water, food, energy in isolation, at least for the planning and the things purpose. Should be seen in terms of system. Same for mobility management. So mobility is not about roads, metro, auto rickshaws. Mobility is how you make people to commute. These are the tools, whether metro and all this. Next. So transit-oriented development is a new model of the city which is coming up in the country, and which is currently being developed at lots of places. But still there are regulatory problems. For example, it's same in Tamil Nadu, it's same in Himachal. The transport planning is done by Department of Transport. Land use planning is done by the Urban Development Department. In Singapore, for example, they have a land use transport authority. They do the transport and the land use planning simultaneously in conjunction with the environmental department. So that gives a sustainability to the project and assurance. Yes, please. So it's same for, like I talked about mobility security. I've already talked about water. One of the things I would like to throw a little light on food security. So food, again, it is said that being vegetarian is eco-friendly. It is also said that the amount of resources it takes to manufacture or basically generate a non-vegetarian food or the junk food maybe also, like burgers and pizzas, is much more, it's not environmental friendly. But the second point is important, are there alternatives? So that is something we need to work out. So currently there is cultured meat that's coming out, but the raw material that we still need for it is bovine syrup. So that's come from the pregnant cows who are basically slaughtered. So that's again such a well practice. But engineering solutions are needed to prevent on to that. Next please. Circular economy is another model. So circular economy is a very big model. So here we are currently working. The problem with circular economy is the reason we are generating so much of plastic, and the problem is we are living in a consumeristic society. So everything, something is manufactured in Tamil Nadu, purchased in Jammu, something is manufactured in Himachal, sold in Kerala. That's a problem. But to transform it, luckily the government is going, next year the government is, central government is launching a project called LIFE, Live for Environment. It's in line with this. But problem is that we are not promoting local products, and we have to promote local and be vocal about it, like the Honorable Prime Minister says. And how we can do that is we are engineering a solution where we are creating some kind of dispensing machines which can locally be installed, which don't require packaging, and at the same time it can maintain the food safety and the quality and all those requirements. That way we can promote the local economy and at the same time address to the lifestyle changes of the people who are living there. Next please. Next.
Next please, zero waste. So this is second thing about zero waste management I would like to talk about. So I have attended here, and I was given this identity card, and it was very nicely designed. But it's a sad part that I may die, even my 10th generation will die, but the plastic component will remain till eternity. So the cover of that will live in eternity. So the idea is that as an engineers, we have to look for solutions for small little things. I would like to propose in this honorable August forum that why can't IEI become zero waste, or at least endeavour to be. We are engineers. If there is no solution available, we can actually work towards that and engineers. It's small little thing. So, and zero waste management is something very good. Yeah, next please. So, thank you so much. Though it's not the end, but it was just some of the thoughts I would like to share without going into a lot of things.